Hello. You are listening to the very first episode of Season 2 of the internet's most missed podcast, Suck My Fanfic. Hosted,
Season 2.
Yeah, Season 2. Hosted by some two douchebags that you didn't even realize that were gone because they had other people release episodes for them. I'm Alex.
And I'm Ryan.
Yes, and although this is the first episode of Season 2, it is our 35th canon episode, and therefore, this is episode 35.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's crazy.
We're not going to restart the numbering system.
I mean, shouldn't we? Wouldn't that make people feel like a sense of, starting fresh, new beginnings?
No. You don't want to do that because you want to seem more popular. So if you have like higher episode numbers, it's like people think like there's an audience, even though it's just like 3 people on the internet that listen to us. Hi, by the way, Henry. I just want to make sure we mention you.
This is more like a fireside chat between us and Henry.
Yeah, at this point, yeah. How have you been, Ryan? We haven't actually done a recording since August 5th, and it's currently October 20th, about to be October 21st. So how you been?
Man, I've been good. Good. It's getting colder up here, which is fine. I've actually been taking the time to go outside and like read books and experience the fall air that's coming in.
Wow.
I moved up here after fall, so I didn't experience. I just got like the brutal cold of winter. I did not get that transition period. Yeah, so I'm very much enjoying that.
You're experiencing that lovely fall smog.
Yes, fall smog is great. I picked pumpkins today, and they were only slightly radiated.
That's not bad.
Great. Yeah. What about you, dude? What are you up to?
Oh, I'm doing well. I'm currently recording in my bathroom because I don't want to wake my roommates. But hey, it's great acoustics, so that's really my real reason. No, I'm doing well though. It sounds like I'm a slacker, but I have 3 courses because that's like full time for my program, and one of the courses is Anthropology's 4 fields, and one of the courses it's a year long, and it divides the 4 fields into like quarters. So I just finished the first quarter of that class, and finished with a 100 for that quarter. So I feel pretty good.
Whoa, look at you, Mr. Smarty Pants.
The best part is it's an archaeology course, and I'm not an archaeologist, and I actually scored better than the 2 archaeologists in the class. So
nice. That's always good to lord over them.
Yeah,
when they're like famous archaeologists and you have nothing to do with archaeology, you can be like, well, I am better than you because I got that 100%.
I did do better than you. It's no big deal. And they're like both really mad at me right now in like a fun sense, but they're both like, yeah, shut the fuck up. So it's nice. It's nice. I'm really proud of that. But as far as academics go, I'm doing a lot. I've read I'm not counting words because that's obviously a little too crazy, but I am
That's
crazy.
how we measure fan fictions, though. You got to ballpark
by words. Well, it's 2,500 pages is what I've read so far, cumulatively.
Okay.
Yeah, and that includes like books and journal articles and like chapters of textbooks. It's 2,500 pages since.
Wow. Well, even if it's it might be as little as like 100 words on a page. It's probably much more than that, but that still puts you squarely. That still puts you squarely at like a medium length Sherlock fanfic.
Yeah. What's that really long one about Super Smash Brothers? I'm like a quarter of the way through that, basically.
Oh, that's like 1,000,000 words, I think.
Yeah. But no, trust me, it's not 100 words per page. No, it might be, but no, it's a lot because it's. I think as far as just like books have gone, I think I've read like 8 or 9 since I got here. It's a lot. I've been nothing but reading, and I have an RA position, so I'm organizing conferences and stuff like that. So it's fun. It's a lot of fun. It's exactly what I want to do with my life. And 4 to 6 years when I graduate, I'm going to be really happy. So look at that, kids. Sometimes your dreams can come true, and sometimes you can be like Ryan and just be depressed that you're in Hoboken.
That's true. That's true. There are 2 paths to go down.
Yeah, we can be your angle or your devil. You pick.
Mm-hmm.
But it's good to hear that you're enjoying fall. I'm glad. How are you enjoying the books? What have you been reading?
One of the books, which I'm stoked on, I'll save till later. Was good. I just finished it. Actually, the ending wasn't as great as I thought, but it was a very good atmospheric book for it. I'm going for like, I'm trying to get that fall aesthetic, you know.
Good.
So I'm reading a bunch of some scarier books. I'm reading some more, you know. moody book. It's all good.
I actually had that intention as well. So I did. This is my other reference. We reference Henry. I'll reference South Park at some point. I'll get that in too. Fall rolled around, and one night I was like, "Yo, I do not feel like reading for school," and I'm kind of caught up with stuff. And I read Coraline by Neil Gaiman, and I read through the whole thing in like a night. But it was really, really good. It was really, really good. And I've never seen the movie, never read the book, so it was my first experience, and I loved it. So.
You recommend? I might crank that out if it's a quick read.
Dude, I read it in like 4 hours. You could probably read it quicker. I like
8 hours.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was taking like phone calls during it, and just like trying to relax and everything. But it was really good, and then it has pictures, so you'll definitely enjoy it.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Oh, you're welcome, for sure. But I loved Coraline. It was really, really good. It's one of those ones where like it's scary for kids, but Neil Gaiman is just a master. I wish I could write like a quarter of.
Wait. Neil Gaiman? Neil Gaiman? Is that?
Yes.
You have to get if they were introduced. Are we supposed to like carry over our characters from last season? Is this a soft reboot or a hard reboot or like what's the concept?
I don't think it's reboot. I think it's a continuance.
So it's not like American Horror Story where we're like totally different people.
If it was, I wouldn't have mentioned Henry. We
have to have something so that's set in the same universe.
Oh, that's a really good point. Like a Stephen King type thing. No, we're good though. Yeah. We're good.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I guess that's sort of the opening topic. Do you have any specific questions about what's going on? Any updates from me about what's going on? Been to a couple Gator games. Go Gators. We're number 7 right now.
Go Gators,
it's amazing.
Of course. Yeah, we're killing it. Having a great year.
Very proud of them.
I do have one question for you.
All right.
Is Dennis still there?
Dennis is still there. He's not allowed on campus, but Dennis is
still
at the
not
Chipotle.
On campus?
No, I think he has a lifetime ban now. So for those of you who don't know who Dennis is, he's this really like crazy bald short dude who stood in the middle of our free speech area, and he would wear like basically a Speedo or like a thong and yell at you about how you're not doing enough with technology to save the planet. And some like the Alligator, the school newspaper, did a really good write-up on him about like they just kind of like investigated his background, and they found out that he was just this guy who's super smart but has like been dealing with mental illness, and he doesn't want to seek treatment for it, but his parents also still support him, like, to like have an apartment and everything, so he's not homeless. And so he just kind of like creeps around campus and yells at people and try to get them to invest in like his website.
Yeah, and he like went to the University of Florida too, right, for a time.
Yeah, and then he dropped out, and then that's when.
And then he went to like California or something. He's a weird dude. He seems harmless, but then he'll like scream at you. He's like one of those people where if you're just like crossing the road with your headphones on, he'd be like, "Look at all these people! You're all standing next to each other, and no one knows what's going on." He's like one of those like really weird, like trying to like unplug you from the Matrix guys.
Even though he's wearing headphones, and a thong. And it's funny because who's like 18 and just got to the university because they talked to Dennis.
Yeah,
they're like, "Oh, who's this guy? He seems like an innovator." No, he's just crazy.
See, that's why I thought maybe Dennis would come back, because Dennis is like a cicada where it's like he will get banned by a group who's like brave enough to be like, Dennis is harassing people, get him off campus. And then he will be off campus for like 4 years once those people leave.
Yep.
And once those people leave, the new group come in, like, oh, this Dennis guy's not so bad. And it's like free Dennis, bring Dennis back. Mm-hmm. And then before you know it, Dennis is on campus, and it's only a matter of time until he gets kicked off and the cycle begins anew. Yeah, so I think it's permanent now, but maybe not. But yeah, no, it's great. And for anyone who's sort of like half considering going back to school, whether or not it's just for an associate's, whether or not it's for a bachelor's or anything like that, to get serious, like I said, I was first generation college student, and I grew up in a really poor place. I mean, my hometown isn't particularly the nicest place on earth. I say that there are very nice parts, so I will eat my words on that one. But like the elementary school that I went to, the situation I was raised in obviously wasn't the best. But one of the things I always knew is that knowledge is power, and it can help you get out of situations. So I always really focused on like learning and acquiring more knowledge, and just always finding a way to keep learning.
And that was one, I mean, Ryan could probably attest to this. That was one thing, like when I wasn't in school, that I was still like, all right, I need to be learning something. And so, you know, if you're out of school and you want to go back or you're just thinking about it, like take the plunge, like go ahead. Cause to me, it's so rewarding. And it's, there are definitely times where I sit there and I'm like, why am I learning about archaeology? But at the end of the day, I know that it's going to benefit me in some way. So that's my little inspirational, go back to school if you can.
You never know when you'll find yourself running from a rolling boulder and you'll just need to know something about archaeology to get out of it.
Do you know how many fucking Indiana Jones jokes are made all the time?
All right, I'll spare you. I'll spare you.
You're good. Yeah, I guess we'll move on. We see we're a little rusty. I also, before we move on, I want to give a big shout out to everyone who did do a bonus episode for us. We really appreciate it.
And they were such a joy to listen to.
They really were. Like, I had fun, and I think it helped me realize like how we can improve. Just like hearing other people's take on it, which I thought was really nice, and I thought they were entertaining. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I really feel like everyone did a really, really good job and really entertaining, and we really appreciate you guys like putting the work in. And you know, as all of our descriptions say, let us exploit you for free capital. I mean. Yeah, it was a great experience.
Yeah, easiest listens I've ever gotten.
Yeah, exactly. But no, they were really, really entertaining. I'll shout everybody out real quick just because I don't want you guys to feel like we're forgetting you, because we definitely are not. So it was Absurdist News, Definitely Inappropriate, Booze and Spirits, Drinkopedia, and then The Great Scientists. And as of recording this, we haven't put them up yet, but hopefully by the time this comes out, we will also have the Movie Cellar and the Angry Dad podcasts. Hopefully their bonus episodes will be up too. And a podcast about something has one coming in November. So you guys rock, all 8 of you.
Yeah.
Definitely Inappropriate really wants us. It was sort of a collaboration with Ideas, but we came to them wanting us to release the Golden Sucky. And it would be our reward for the best guest spot.
The golden I don't know
sucky.
if I could do that. We might have to do superlative suckies.
Yeah, I think that's better.
All of them do great things in different ways.
In their own ways. So we'll figure that out, but after we get one from a podcast about something, so it'll be in a little bit. But besides the golden suckies, I think it also proved a couple points. It's very hard to find fanfic because most of them were smutty. It's very hard to find non-smutty fanfic that's interesting.
Unless you write your own. Unless you forge your own path.
Yeah, Normo.
Write your own.
Yeah. Mr. American Gods over here, Drinkopedia. That was great. I really like that with the Neil Gaiman. Yeah. He knew exactly what to say to make me love it. So fuck you for that one, Matt. By fuck you, I mean thank you very much. It was great. But no, yeah, I think it proved that it's hard to find interesting fics that aren't smutty, which, you know, kind of validates us a little bit because we do actually put some work into this sometimes. And I think it also, when you do like a reaction podcast like this, because that's basically what it is, like we're reacting to fanfics and like things that the other person brings to the table, it's really, and I'm not insulting anybody, but it's just like an observation. It's really easy to want to react to every single sentence. And there were some times when I was listening where I was like, don't fall into that trap. That's what I did. I regret it. But people really maintained like a good bit of not doing that. You know what I mean?
I'm not reacting to that question.
Oh, fuck you. No, but no, you know what I mean though, right?
Yeah, no, that was me being expert level, non-reactionary.
As you being
I get what you mean, because you gotta let the piece breathe. That's what this is all about. We're all about letting it stand on its own, even if that's in all of its stark, horrifying, smutty glory. You've just got to let the words, hang there in the air.
Yes, and on our first few episodes, the ones that you read the fic, I wanted to comment on every single sentence, and like it got to the point where I'm like, all right, don't do that. Like, let it, like you said, let it breathe, and like find a place that is insightful and funny or something like that. So, yeah, I just it's nice to know that like it's like a natural reaction. So, moving past the golden suckies, I have the fanfic for this week. I would like for you to guess, Ryan, what the fandom is. I will give you exactly one guess.
And 0 hints.
I'll give you one hint to ask the question. What would be the biggest hint to you?
Does this have to be yes or no?
No, I'm not going to be like that.
What what medium does this fandom hail from? Television, film, book, comic?
I'm going to be very specific to try to help you out. Originally comic book, but turned to TV, specifically streaming.
Oh. Doom Patrol?
Doom Patrol.
Nice.
Yes.
Nailed it.
Doing Doom Patrol. So last season, I talked a lot about Doom Patrol because I was watching it as it was coming out. I was stoked on it multiple times. And it's just a very good show. Like, it's so solid. The character development in it is amazing. Do you want to explain Doom Patrol to the listeners who haven't heard me rant about it already?
Yeah, so I'm obviously not as super familiar with it as you are, but Doom Patrol, and you have to help me with the timeline. When did Doom Patrol first come out? It's a DC Comics property.
Yes.
When did it first come out?
I will get the exact date, like year for you, so I don't make myself look like a fool for being the comic book fan and not knowing the exact year, but I know it was in the 60s.
Well, the important thing is that you have like a superhero team.
1963.
And they were kind of like these 1963, and they were kind of like this anti-hero team before like really anti-heroes really took off.
Yeah.
They are a group of outcasts. Let's call them mutants, if we will.
Yeah, strange
led by
people.
a wheelchair-bound leader.
Bald man.
Yep. And they go on kooky adventures using their, seemingly random powers together to save the world. And all of this is DC, and it came out before X-Men.
Yes. And there's talk that Stan Lee directly ripped it. May or may not be true because they were separated by a few months with publishing, and the argument's sort of out there of like whether or not he knew about Doom Patrol. There's someone who swears that they were an intern for Marvel and they knew that they knew about Doom Patrol and they ripped it. But that doesn't really matter because X-Men's the bigger property and Doom Patrol's barely gets published nowadays.
Yeah, and so they kind of went dormant for a while too. Like I think they killed off all the original members. But
well, the really interesting
basically this like, go ahead.
Yeah, the really interesting thing is the writers for Doom Patrol were so passionate about it, but they didn't want to make it so they could keep publishing it after they had done writing it. So they killed the characters off at the end, which is fitting because with the tone of the book and the tone of the characters and just what they do, I mean, it makes sense to just sort of off them. And they didn't really return until, I think, the 80s, right? 80s or 90s. They might have come back before Grant Morrison, but Grant Morrison...
the Grant Morrison run that had all those trades of, right?
Yeah. He just jumped in. Grant Morrison jumped in, and he just really, really made it something. And it became big. And it was a Vertigo imprint, which is the same imprint as Sandman and Preacher and Why the Last Man and a couple other really, really big titles. V for Vendetta, I believe, is Vertigo, too. And... Doom Patrol just kind of really found its weird niche. And if you're a Doom Patrol fan, you're a Doom Patrol fan. And if you're not, you probably haven't heard of them. Mm-hmm. And the show on the DC Universe, they had a cameo in the Titans, which is their flagship live action show. And no one really the Doom Patrol episode of Titans was good, but it wasn't one where I was like, oh, this Doom Patrol TV show is going to be amazing. I just kind of watched it and I was like, yeah, it could be interesting. And then the Doom Patrol show came out and it just was next level. I mean, like I said, character development's amazing. It's a very, very ensemble-driven show. If I had to pick a main character, I'd probably say it's Robot Man, played by Brendan fucking Fraser, of all people. But it doesn't matter. It's amazing. What they do with Matt Bomber, who plays Larry Trainer / Negative Man, his arc is probably the strongest, without a doubt. Even Rita, who plays Elasti-Woman, she's amazing. There's nothing about that show I can really pick apart, honestly. The only thing that I had a little bit of an aversion to is they made Cyborg one of the main characters who isn't traditionally associated with the Doom Patrol. But they've really, really found a way to integrate him in a way that's like informed by the show, but also it doesn't set him in the Doom Patrol proper, if that makes any sense.
So he doesn't have to stick around. He could be like, that could be like a rotating door, that spot at the Doom
Yeah, if they wanted it to be. It's funny because the running joke is that he wants to be on the Justice League, and he's like trying to do heroic things to prove to them that he could join, and they just keep making fun of him for it. So
I like how they've set it up in the show how it's like an application process. It's like your application to the Justice League has been denied for the following reasons. And it's like he's trying to get a job.
Exactly.
Pretty funny.
And the really crazy thing is, I read this article and I hadn't even noticed it because I don't really look at things this way, but it was an article that said like why Doom Patrol is the most representative show for people with disability. And I was like, what on earth are you talking about? And then they kind of went through it, and it was about how Robot Man was in one giant prosthetic, and Rita had like body dysmorphia issues, and Negative Man had burn scars, and they just kind of went down the line with a lot of the characters. Jane has like extensive mental illness, and it was interesting because it's like, yeah, I guess if you look at it that way, they're all pretty inclusive characters and pretty different characters. Like they're considered like the strange and like the weird heroes of DC, but it's done so in a way where you're not thinking about that. You know what I mean? You're not looking at them that way, but they just are.
Right, and you're probably going to hate this, but for anybody who's like not sure about it or haven't seen it, it's like watching like a team of Deadpools do a TV show. Like that's the tone. Like,
fuck
it's,
you!
Like, funny, it's crass.
Fuck you!
But that's like for a layman
fuck you.
Such as myself.
Fuck you!
Is
it's not a layman; it's a normie.
That would be what I would pitch it to like a rando off the street.
I will say one of my favorite parts of that show that I thought was super funny is they were talking about this, like, there's one episode, it's really early on, so I'm not spoiling anything really, and they kept talking about this, like, the villains kept talking about this weird dimension called, like, Nerfheim, something like that, and they keep referencing it, and you're like, alright, that's weird, and then at one point, Robot Man and Crazy Jane, yes, that's her name, I understand I said she has mental illness, like extreme mental illness, but that's her name, and Robot Man and Crazy Jane, like, get in this conversation, like get sucked to this portal and like wake up, and Brendan Fraser looks around and he goes, is this Nerfheim? Are we in goddamn fucking Nerfheim? And I don't know why, but that killed me. It was just so good. Because the entire time the villains are talking about Nerfheim and you're like, what the fuck's Nerfheim? That's so stupid. And then they get transported to Nerfheim and you're like, oh my god. Because you just thought they were like being crazy and they weren't.
Yeah.
But it's weird. It's one of those shows that is intentionally going to subvert your expectations. It's intentionally going to be extremely weird. And it's one of those shows that you just kind of have to commit to. Like, one of the characters that I'm going to read a story for, I'll start with this one. It's Danny, the talking street. And Danny is a non-binary gender sentient street. And, they can teleport and go to different places. And
I'm sorry. Did you say street?
Yes, street.
Like a road?
Yes, but with shops and like a movie theater.
Okay.
Danny is a part of the Doom Patrol and is a character, and they become sort of like a haven for outcasts. And if you're like a weird person who's getting, pursued or is in an uncomfortable spot, Danny will like teleport to you. Like not without you knowing. You just kind of stumble upon Danny. And some people stay and never leave, or some people go and kind of get what they need and get back.
Oh, wow. Danny's like the Hotel California.
Yeah. But the most powerful moment with Negative Man, Larry Traynor, a.k.a. Matt Bomer, takes place on Danny. It's in a building of Danny, on Danny Street. To give context with Negative Man, his arc is that he was a fighter pilot in the 60s who became an experimental test pilot who, even though he had a wife and kids, was gay. And his lover was a part of the test crew. And so they, were in love with each other. And he loved his wife and his kids in the sense that someone in that position would, where they still love them, but you can tell that that's not where his heart is. And he gets really selfish, and he basically says, like, I'm not going to leave the Air Force for you, to his lover. I want to be on the Apollo, or, I want to be an astronaut, and I'm going to keep being a test pilot. And he goes up in an X-15, flies through this weird cloud, crashes, burns a bunch, and wakes up, and there's this like sentient electrical being that's in him called the Negative Man. And so he's immortal now, but he's permanently burned. So his whole story arc is basically just dealing with the fact that he's never going to get better, and he made some pretty bad decisions, and he's still not comfortable with who he is. And so there's a very powerful moment that he has on Danny Street.
Right, and he's a bit like the Hulk too, in the sense that like whenever he tries to do something to better a situation or maybe even off himself, the Negative Man will come out of him and prevent it from happening.
Yeah, and their relationship evolves throughout the show, and by the end, you kind of get the sense that he's going to learn how to control it and can actually be conscious when it comes out. But he's not gone to that point yet. It's just, God, it's such a good show. I really, really do enjoy it. So the first story is called Lost on Danny Street. I'm doing a couple of smaller stories.
Okay.
So the first one's called Lost on Danny Street. And the reason why I want to do a couple small ones is because in the same sense as Sandman, I think, at least for the TV show, the Doom Patrol stories really work well when they're sort of character-driven and focused on one thing and not like a big overarching plot.
Okay.
So I like this one, and I hope you guys enjoy it too. It's called Lost on Danny Street. It's on Archive of Our Own. It's written by Moon Fairy Draws. So the note is originally made in honor of International Day Against Homophobia, Transphobia, and Biphobia. The story is about a very special little girl who gets lost in a very special street. This happened a little bit ago. Back then, her family still called her by that name. She remembered that day, even the outfit she was wearing. A blue striped shirt and overalls with a red car on the front. She'd protested the outfit, but all her other clothes had been dirty from an earlier tantrum. It had actually been so bad her older sister Lonnie had lamented and given her her phone to watch The Little Mermaid. But of course, she'd gotten bored and put it in her little pink purse. They'd gone to get her new shoes, and she desperately wanted a pair of sneakers with pink sequins and baby blue laces and a Little Mermaid on the side. But when she went to put them on the counter, when she went to put them on the counter with her money, a lady had put another pair in front of her. Wouldn't you prefer these instead? They have sharks on them. No, I don't like sharks. I like mermaids. See, I got one on my purse. She showed the lady. Don't be silly. Purses are for girls, not boys. This made her cry. Why couldn't she have the sneakers that she wanted? Why couldn't she have a purse? She'd run out of the small store, run as fast as her little legs could take her. She'd probably run 2 blocks before she'd realize it. Papa, Sissy, Gracie, where are you? She was lost. Lost on an unfamiliar street. That's when Lonnie's phone had sung some Jonas Brothers songs. Sissy's phone? Oh, thank the universe, her dad had been crying. Son, where are you? She looked up at the nearest green street sign. The green sign says, duh. Sound it out, sweetie, Lonnie had said over the phone. Like the lions do on the TV. Duh. Why? Sa-ta-ri-ta. Oh, Danny Street. That's when the phone had beeped. Sissy, the screen is black. Fix it. But her sister wasn't there to plug the phone in. She'd lost her connection to her family. It just made her cry more. That's when words appeared on the pavement in front of her. What's wa-ru-onga-ronga? I don't know. Danny, baby, I don't think he's that advanced of a reader, a voice came from behind her. It was a nice lady with a really nice hair and pretty makeup. Like Ursula. She loved Ursula. So to put this in context, in the episode with Danny Street, the big one with Negative Man, there's a drag show that takes place on Danny Street. And early in the episode, they show someone who is hunting Danny to destroy it. And he walks into Danny Street and realizes that it's a safe place. And realizes that he doesn't want to be a undercover agent anymore. He wants to be in drag, and he wants to do drag shows, and he feels more comfortable that way. And so this is that person, because Ursula from The Little Mermaid was based off of a very famous drag performer. For those of you who don't know,
really, I did not know.
You didn't know that Ursula was based off of a drag performer. Yes,
I don't see anything in here about Ursula. Oh, there we go. Devine was an inspiration for Ursula the Sea Witch, the villain in the 1989 Disney animated film Little Mermaid, due to Devine's portrayal of Edna Turnblad in the original comedy film Hairspray. What?
Yep.
Later musical adaptations of Hairspray have commonly placed male actors in the role of Edna. Huh.
Yep. but yes, so Ursula was based off of a drag queen, and so she looks up, sees the character that was in the show, and connects her to Ursula, which I think is very clever on this writer's part.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly didn't know that. That's a deep hit.
Yeah, I try to come up with the deep cuts. She loved Ursula, so her little brain had told her to run up and hug this lady. Can your eel friends bring back my papa and sissies? I'll give you my favorite dolly. She'd pulled it out of her bag and given it to the woman. The look on her face was sad before she realized what she'd meant, handing back her toy. Oh, you don't need to give Miss Mora your dolly. Why don't we get that phone of yours working again and get you all cheered up? Do you like ice cream? Uh-huh. My favorite is chocolate with rainbow sprinkles and star sprinkles and blueberries. Well, what a coincidence.
I'm sorry. I know you said not to comment on everything, but that sounds like just the worst combo.
No, I mean, I'm not telling you not to comment on everything. You can definitely comment on
I'm breaking etiquette here.
You're not breaking any etiquette.
Oh
my God, fuck you.
But that combination sounds just wretched.
Yeah, I probably would not eat that. I mean, I like ice cream, but I don't go out of my way to eat ice cream anyways. So, anyways. Well, what a coincidence. Mora had smiled and pointed at a counter where a beautiful ice cream dish sat, overflowing with blueberries and rainbows and shiny stars. Star sprinkles. While she'd gobbled up the treat, Mora had wiped off the gooey mess along with her tears. Now, sugar, you have to tell me what I can call you. Well, it's Teddy, but I don't like it. She frowned, letting ice cream drip onto her overalls. I thought Sophie could be my name, but there's a Sophia in my class at school, and she's really mean. I don't want to be mean. Then I thought maybe Zoo, but that's not right either. I can't be Zoo. Mora giggled. What was weird was that it also felt like the street was giggling too, but streets don't giggle. What about Zophie? It's a little combo, spelled Zophie. I like that, she smiled. Just call me Zophie Jones. Well, it's nice to meet you, Zophie Jones. Mora shook her hand. Aw, I want ice cream too, Zophie heard Gracie's voice behind her. Papa, can I get some ice cream too? Sure. There was her papa. Theo, I'm really sorry. I turned my back for 1 second and that lady hurt your feelings. But you can't just run away like that. Not Theo, Zophie, she'd corrected him as Grace had gobbled up a magically poofed strawberry sherbet. It would be the first of many, but this was the most important thing to her, more important than some sparkly pink shoes. Zophie, okay. He'd hugged her close. Promise me, though, you come to me if that happens again. Yes, Papa. Well, after Miss Mora called, I did make a stop. He pulled out a familiar box. My dolphin shoes. Can I wear them now? First, we should probably get you a bath and a nice nap. Does that sound good, little prince? No, Papa. She's a little princess, Gracie corrected. Right. Okay, Papa. Zophie had climbed into her papa's arms. Bye, Ursula. Bye, Zophie. Mora had ruffled her hair. And remember, Danny the Street and me will just be a phone call away if you need somewhere to go. Mora slipped Lonnie's phone in Zophie's purse. That's when she saw 2 words on the ground. Bye, Zophie. Bye, Danny. She hadn't known it, but she'd find herself on that street many times after that. Whenever she'd needed a safe haven or somewhere to just have a friendly talk, she turned the corner, and it always seemed to say Danny Street. The ice cream counter isn't there anymore, but what was always had a flair about it. But hey, even a sentient street knows that sometimes all you need is a friend, and maybe something more filling than chocolate ice cream with rainbow and star sprinkles. Finn.
Question about Danny Street.
Let me have it.
Do you age on Danny Street, or is it like Never Land?
They don't really address that. I would have to assume so. Because you don't have to stay on Danny Street if you don't want to, but just a lot of people want to. Yeah.
But that was nice. You know, I'm a sucker. It brings us back to that Hogwarts squick
these little powerless bones.
What's that?
These little powerless bones?
Yes. Yeah, the Drabble that we read. And it just gets me hyped when it like tells you a story, but then it like progresses through like a timeline really quick. And it's like, I feel like, I know what's going on right now. Like it's like, tells the story of a little girl getting lost, and it's like, and then any time for the rest of her life, she was always able to go back. I don't know why, but it's always just like, it's a nicer version of Happily Ever After, where they like detail like what happens.
Absolutely.
Ever after. You get what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
what'd you think?
So yeah, that was really nice.
Good.
That was really nice. I guess so. I kind of maybe I just got lost there in the middle. So like she just got lost, and then this other the person who was formerly the agent or whatever. What was the person's name?
Miss Mora.
Miss Mora. So Miss Mora just like phoned the family, and the family just walked into Danny Street. And it was all good.
Yeah, I think. Yeah. I was gonna say I think Danny, like, once Danny realized that they would be considerate of Sophie, they appeared to the family.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's
so,
how
like,
I read it.
Danny saw this little girl like zipping out of the department store, and Danny just like slid right in. Was like, "Oh, I'm going to be there." So she walked right onto Danny Street.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I kind of like that.
Yeah.
And I didn't know anything about Danny Street. That's a really cool idea. Where does that come? Is that like a new
It's a Grant Morrison
concept,
thing.
Danny Street? Or?
It's a Grant Morrison thing.
Okay.
He's so weird.
So it's like an 80s thing.
Yeah, it's a Grant Morrison thing. He's as crazy as Alan Moore. So that was the first one. The next one is called You Have Me. The summary is musing on the 60-year codependent friendship between Larry and Rita, which is Negative Man and Elastic Woman. In 1969, Rita and Larry, heavily drunk, watched the moon landing. Larry was transfixed and said that if he could, he would have cried over it. Rita said it must be fake. Larry said it was real. He'd nearly been in orbit, and because of that, he should know. Rita said it couldn't have been possible because she had been on a soundstage for real, and not nearly been on a soundstage, and so she would know, and that those men in suits were clearly on a soundstage. That's sort of like the little summary for it, and then this is the story.
I like that. That's good. It's the perspective of two people. One person who was like ardently supportive of and very involved in the space program, and then an actor who's like, nah, it's BS. I know better. That's BS.
And it is very, very true to their personalities. Because Rita, her whole arc is like overcoming the fact that she was this big Hollywood starlet in the 30s. And then she had this crazy, weird accident and could no longer be an actress. So, just try supporting me for once. Jane has Cliff. Who do I get? It was 1964 everywhere but the manor until the chief burst through the doors that day. Rita hadn't seen him for almost 3 months. It must have been a Monday or a Thursday. Days went the way of years when she was alone, categorized by how they felt rather than what they were. And she was always alone. Rita and her screen reflection, Rita and her mirror reflection, sometimes monstrous and mocking. Rita alone in the silent drawing room, the only human, warm contact her own skin with her own now alien skin. The body of a stranger that she didn't understand, but wore her face. Do you want to explain what Rita's issue was?
I don't know if I 100% understand it, but Rita was like a starlet.
Yeah.
Rita was like a starlet of the 40s, like the golden age of Hollywood.
Yeah.
And so she was shooting in like South America or Africa or something.
Yeah, one of those places. I think
like,
Africa
stumbles upon some like sacred ground or water or something, and her skin takes on this like elastic quality. So it for the longest time she like doesn't control it, so it just like her skin just becomes like droopy and like fall apart.
Yeah, but as she turns into a blob.
Yeah, she more like becomes like amorphous.
Yeah,
but I mean at once that also like keeps her young. She has like elastic skin. So she stays young for like forever. But then over time she learns to harness it, and she becomes like Elastigirl from The Incredibles, where she can like stretch and like do crazy things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so the big issue is that even 60 years later, she's still really impulsive, and so when something happens, she can't help it, but she like turns droopy basically. Like her foot gets really big, or her like leg does, and her face starts to droop, and it's like this anxiety issue. And that's
she was a big time prima donna. So like if anything gets to her, which it always does, it kind of manifests itself that way.
Yeah, and so like she, when she gets her anxiety, she like starts to droop. At one point, she like falls through an air conditioning grate, and she can't help it. And so it's also like her not being able to control her body, which kind of feels, it's something she has to deal with. And so for most of her life, she just kind of like shuts herself into her room, and she watches old movies of herself where she still felt confident.
She's a mixture of Mr. Fantastic and that kid from Sky High who can just melt.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I guess spoiler alert, she really only stretches once in the entire first season. But when she does it, it's important, and you cheer it on.
Oh, I've seen that episode. That's
Yeah,
the
you
only
have.
time?
That's the only time she stretches in the entire show.
Oh.
Because she's still it wasn't really Rita's season, which is unfortunate because I think that actress, April Bowlby, I think she does amazing things with that character, and I think they could literally just do an entire show about Rita. They could do an entire show about any of these characters, but it would make the show like lose its meaning. Their characters would lose their meaning because they're supposed to be an ensemble.
Right.
But Rita in particular, I don't regret what they did with her because I think it was great, but I just wish they had done so much more without taking from anybody else. I wish the show was 30 minutes longer each episode, just in general, and they could have added more Rita. But obviously there's time limits, and I think next season is going to focus on her quite heavy.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, so this is benefit more seasons. Okay, so this is about Rita and Negative Man.
Yeah, Larry. It's Rita and Larry, and they are. It's more about the relationship through the years of them, kind of leaning on each other. And for a long time, they're the only two like weirdos, quote unquote, that the chief, who is their Professor Xavier, the chief has living with him, so they kind of have to be around each other. You know, they are dependent on each other. But someone other than Rita was on that stretcher. The chief told her to stay back, that it was dangerous. She decided as much before that. The figure must have been unconscious, eyes shut. From behind a doorframe, she watched his scorched and sticky forearm slip under the sheet over the body. Eyes burned away? It didn't comfort the agoraphobia, the fear of being known. It had, after all, been only a decade, but nevertheless she continued to look until the chief took him to the lab. She didn't see the figure after that, but in a way she and the body became close. While the chief was occupied controlling the dangerous levels of radiation he explained were coming off of the body, he tasked Rita with outfitting one of the guest rooms. For Larry, as Chief said, Larry, such a usual name for a radioactive body, I think they meant unusual. While she affixed special metal panels to the wall of the guest room, she imagined Larry's usual life, the kind she would never have again. Of course, she assured herself, her life as a starlet was never usual. But she played a housewife a few times in Southwestern Belle and Winds of August. Maybe Larry came home to... Yeah, and she always is referring to her movies. Maybe Larry came home to a wife and children. Maybe he ate his meatloaf, embraced his wife, read to his children, and then went to sleep with a warm body at his side. The thought began to depress her. Now that he was in the hands of the chief, he would live, but never again in that usual way. When the house guest was ready to move into his own room, Rita tried to be as hospitable as possible, despite the nerves she was feeling. With one hand pressed to a trembling cheek, she smiled as Chief led the now mummified figure into the room. She couldn't see his expression, of course, but his stooped figure and dragging heels told her all she needed to know about his emotional state. She would have been the same had she not been a literal puddle at the time. "Welcome, Mr. Trainer," she shouted, much louder than she intended. When one never has to speak to anyone, one tends to lose the ability to regulate their decibels. The chief dropped Larry's duffel bag into the room. "Larry, this is Rita. She's lived here for a while now. Spends more time at home than me. I'm sure you'll get to know each other well soon enough." He then walked out, despite Rita's protests. Mr. Trainer had already seen enough of him for a lifetime, he said, and duty called, he said. Larry seemed to stare at Rita for a long moment. She felt the skin on her cheek under her palm groan under its own weight. She pushed her palm up further. Finally, he slumped down into the wire frame bed and wrapped his head in his hands without so much a word. Rita exhaled shortly and nervously. "Well, Larry, I suppose you need some time to settle. If you need anything, I'm right down the hall, but try not to need anything too much and knock first." Try not to need anything too much and knock first. He didn't give any indication that he was listening. "Okay." She backed out of the room nervously, backwards. "Toodaloo. Toodaloo. Good God, Rita, you're a Golden Globe-nominated actress." The weeks passed. The chief came and went. Larry never left his room. Rita continued to knit, look at regular pictures and moving pictures of Rita, and a few times a day place a full plate of food in the containment chamber before Larry's room. Then months passed, more of the same. Until one day, Rita wasn't watching Rita on the television alone. Larry lowered himself, painfully it seemed, onto the couch next to Rita. She didn't dare say anything that would scare him off. She just focused on herself, on the screen, and self-centered herself in the meditation of it. "So you are her," he mumbled quietly. She barely heard. Rita Farr. Music to her ears. "Yes, I am," she noticed. He sat a little straighter, his chin a little up. Hers, now sky high at all times, got a little bit higher. My mother loved your movies. She'd make me go to every one every time I was in town from the academy. I'd always think, how many movies can one woman make? Around 35. So that's it. I watched some with her, and then some with my friend John. He was, he was also a big fan. Oh? He should be here, sitting with you. Well, no, he shouldn't, but he grew even quieter, and his voice trembled. He should be, and I shouldn't be. I shouldn't be. Now, Larry, no talking while I'm on the screen, she intervened gently but firmly, recognizing the emotional spiral he was sliding down. That's the only rule here, well, besides the other rules. She pointed to the screen and smiled softly as he followed the gesture. Besides, we all have things we can't yet say. It's been 10 years for me. Not that I don't hope that sometime you may want to tell me. All right, Ryan, what the fuck, dude? Did I get you self-conscious with not wanting to, comment?
No, dude, I'm engrossed. There's a lot. What's really crossing my mind here is, how, large properties, like an Avengers or something, can just have so much garbage fan fiction. But then something like this can be, it's very obscure, it's very niche, and then it has something that's so, thoughtfully written. There's a lot going on here, but it's just a simple conversation. Somebody put a lot of thought and time into how these characters, the beginnings of their relationship, and how that would work out. What it would
I absolutely
be
agree.
And someone also really, took care in capturing the exact voice of these characters. Mm-hmm. I'm listening. I'm locked in. I'm blown away that 99% of big budget fanfic, if you will, is just two guys going to town on each other,
just railing each other,
and then this is just so nuanced. I feel like I'm watching a Netflix show right now.
Okay, good. No, that makes me really happy. And I think partially, I know I annoy people, but that's why I haven't really ever been into those big properties, because it's just I feel like when you create specifically for a mass audience, you lose some heart. And I'm very secure with the fact that I'm not going to enjoy everything that ever comes out. And that's totally okay. Maybe some things, I hate this term, maybe some things aren't made for me. And by made for me, I don't mean demographically. I mean just my tastes. And, I guess if you like Doom Patrol, you like it, you know what I mean? And you're going to sit there and you're going to write a nuanced piece about two characters that is very character driven itself. It's very character and ensemble driven, but even if I don't keep going, I think these two fics alone are pretty stellar, honestly.
Yeah, no, I just like the thoughtfulness of it. They're really, I don't know what they're not trying to exploit these characters for just a gas, which, don't get me wrong, I love those fanfics. I love them very much.
Yeah.
But they're just, whoever's writing this is just putting it out there, flexing their muscles.
I'm glad you enjoy it. So I'll keep going. He remained silent. She swirled her Manhattan around in its glass. You know already this life, this unending life, is difficult. A much happier on-screen Rita performed a proud monologue in between her pauses. One day you are a star at the top of her gang, and Frank Sinatra offers you a drink and shares his cigarettes at your premiere. And the next day you're in a mental hospital in Cape Town wearing the skin off of your arms with your teeth. Tearing the skin off your arms with your teeth. She laughed sadly but gently, sweetly. Although I suppose you don't have an agent to cover for your disappearance by saying that you became pregnant and quit Hollywood in order to start your family away from all the flashbulbs. That's funny, Larry replied in a much steadier voice. I didn't hear that. I heard you became a drunk. She downed the drink in her glass, snapping the toothpick along with the cherry in her mouth. It's good to finally meet you, Larry. Now, are you going to be impolite, or will you be having a Manhattan too? I suppose I could use one. Oh, you deserve one. And so the months became years. In 1969, Rita and Larry, heavily drunk, watched the moon landing. Larry was transfixed and said that if he could, he would have cried over it. Rita said it must be fake. Larry said it was real. He'd nearly been in orbit, and because of that, he should know. Rita said it couldn't have been possible because she had been on a soundstage for real and not nearly been on a soundstage, and so she would know, and that those men in the suits were clearly on a soundstage. In March of 1970, Larry told Rita all about John. Rita told Larry about her arranged celebrity marriage to a gay star. In June of 1970, Rita told Larry about her baby.
Oh, that's nice. I really like that.
Yeah.
And then again, as stated in the previous fic, our timeline is accelerating. So I'm getting hyped. Dude.
Yes.
You can't even see me. I'm pacing. I'm just hyped.
You're gonna like this because it's just gonna go on from here. In June of 1970, Rita told Larry about her baby. In 1971, Rita met the negative spirit and gave it a stern talking to. In 1972, Larry talked Rita out of a panic attack and helped her gather her shoulder and right ear off of the bathroom floor. In 1973, Rita gifted Larry his first orchid, given to her originally by the chief when she had arrived. Larry is a very big gardener in the show. He likes to garden, he likes to cook, because he can't go out of the house. So he has like a lot of hobbies. In 1973, Rita gifted Larry his, In 1976, it is possible that Larry saved Rita from death by Hammerhead, which is one of Crazy Jane's personalities. Every one of her personalities. So Crazy Jane, I didn't explain her. Crazy Jane, she, is the right word schizophrenic, where you have different personalities? She's multiple personality disorder.
It's like there's a train going through her mind, and each boxcar contains a different person.
I think that's actually one of the metaphors they use.
That is the exact metaphor they use.
Okay. So she has multiple personality disorder. What is it, 64 personalities?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and each one of them has a specific power. So Hammerhead is the angry personality and has super strength. It is possible that Larry saved Rita from death by Hammerhead. In 1977, Rita knit her fourth sweater for Larry, and that one he actually liked. In 1980, Rita persuaded Larry to put makeup over his bandages to make him look more lively. In 1989, Larry and Rita and Cliff...
Whoa, that's a very big jump from 80 to 89.
I told you, it accelerates. It accelerates. In 1989, Larry and Rita and Cliff, who is Robot Man, a.k.a. Brendan Fraser, watched the Berlin Wall come down. It didn't compare to life at the manor. Now they had a Robot Man in the basement. In 1977, Cliff persuaded Larry to let her paint his bandages again. Makeup looked more natural now than it did in the 80s, he said. Larry acquiesced. After it was done, he looked like Rita. Rita said, he looked so handsome. In 2018, Rita said to Larry, just try supporting me for once. Jane has Cliff. Who do I get? And Larry, for a moment, staring down the barrel of over half a century of friendship and intimate cohabitation, of movie nights and crying nights, of screaming and shouting and laughing and drinking, should have said, it's me, you have me. Except he didn't. He said nothing. And Rita, knowing Larry perhaps better than Larry wanted to know himself, walked away during that silence she expected so much. And Larry, knowing Rita perhaps better than Rita wanted to know herself, knew that her walking away was just Rita running from fear. He decided to stand up for something, this one time in decades, to show her that there was nothing to be afraid of. She would realize eventually, in her own prideful time, as Rita was wont to do. And in the meantime, whether she realized it or wanted it or not, she would always have Larry. And I believe that was a reference to the second episode, where Jane and Cliff, Robot Man, want to go look for the chief because he's missing, and Rita does not, and Larry sides with them and not her.
Oh, okay, that's why she's upset.
I believe that's the reference.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, no, I didn't really get where that's coming from, but I did like okay, so now I like that this is a good fanfic. This is like somebody who took one moment from the show, and I remember that scene. It has some emotional impact, but they were able to really imagine that moment in context of like two people who've lived together. Because like when I was watching, I'm like, oh, here's two new characters. Oh, and they're arguing. They're not getting along. But this person like was able to immediately get, oh wow, these are people who've cohabitated for 50 years, and maybe they started off terse and impersonal, and now they're really good friends in their own way. And this is more of a betrayal than even maybe the show is letting on. So they saw the possibility through there.
Yes. And I
this
like
person's
that.
a screenwriter's dream.
That's some world
screenwriter
building
just has
right
to drop a little hint, and this person will build out the world for them.
Do all the work for him. And that was written by Charlotte Anka on Archive of Her Own. It's called You Have Me.
I quite like that one as well.
I have one that is really it's almost freeform. I wanted to read it, but maybe I'll save it. I'm going to save it. If people know, because it's when you hear what it is, you're going to be like, oh, of course. But it's interesting. So I'm going to save it, but I'm going to do this other one that I have that focuses on Cliff, Robot Man.
Okay.
So the thing about Cliff is his big arc is that he was a terrible human being. He was a race car driver from Daytona, which anytime Florida is mentioned in anything, I get excited. So Cliff automatically became my favorite character.
But they're also, anytime Florida's ever mentioned in anything, whoever's from Florida is like a terrible person.
Or crazy, yeah. So you get the good, you get the bad. You take it all, and then you have the facts of life. So we have Cliff, who was a bad person. I think the very first episode, he's like cheating on his wife, and you see tit, and besides cheering a little bit, my first reaction was, oh shit, that's this kind of show. Sick. What are we doing? Like, oh, okay, that's what the show's going to be. But he's like straight up cheating on his wife with the daughter in the house. Like, he does not give a shit because he's such a bad guy. And then he gets in a racing accident, and he becomes a brain in a metal body. And his daughter thinks he's dead. And all he wants to do is reconnect with her, but he knows that he can't because it's been too long. To put it
in more terms, as I'm trying to do this for the listener. It's like if you ever watch The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, that brain that lives in in a bear. Did you ever watch that show?
It's been a while since I watched that show.
There was like a purple bear, and it had like a brain inside of it. The brain was like an evil ex-scientist. So yeah, they put the brain inside the robot box instead.
Okay, yeah, I guess that's similar to it then. So this is called To Dad, You're My Hero. You're My Hero. To Dad, You're My Hero. Written by Send Flares, again on Archive of Our Own.
I feel like I know where this is going. Here we go. I'm settling in.
There's a strange thing walking up to her. Each step, a heavy, clunking wheeze. He helps her stand on the rickety box, hesitant for a reason she's unaware of. By the end of her speech, Clara is overwhelmed, taken by grief, her speech loud and rifled with memories of her dad. When she's done and her tears dry, it doesn't occur to her to look for the strange thing. A voice echoes at the back of her mind. Clara Steele is a brave, bold girl. She knows this because people told her all the time how strong she was. Only 5 years old and recovery from a car crash. She's 10 now and still doesn't know why her dad's smile goes stiff when she goes, "Daddy, why don't I have a mom?" She understands death now, the brave, bold girl she is. Why won't anyone tell her what happened to her mom? She's 15 when she discovers what happened. Her dad sits across from her in the living room. A clock ticks in the background. "Don't you dare think this makes you my father any less," Clara says, still bitten by shock. He smiles, though, and all is all right. So this is, you find out, spoiler alert, that Cliff's best friend adopts her, but he gets really pissed off about that. Cliff does.
Okay, because he's in a car accident with his wife and daughter in the car, right?
It's a spoiler, but yeah.
That happens in the first episode.
Does he find that in the first episode? Oh, I guess he does.
Well, I thought his daughter was also a casualty of the accident.
That's what you're meant to believe. But his best friend, from when he was a human being and not a robot, adopts her, and he gets pissed off, and then he finds out that his best friend died. So he decides that he wants to go to the funeral and reconnect with his daughter. So when she gives the speech about her dad, that was Cliff, like, helping her stand on top of a box when she's talking about his best friend. So it's like a super painful moment, and you're like, oh, I feel so bad for Cliff, because he just wants to reconnect with her, but he knows he was a shitty dad, and maybe she was better off that he wasn't in her life.
Right, so he's getting to hear her life through the lens of, my father was so great, and he is not the father in the situation.
Yes.
Wow.
Look at him go. Cliff Steele, champion of 2 races so soon into the season, manages to shoot into first position, barely avoiding a crash with second in the head, Jones. The crappy television shuts off and a remote is thrown against the wall. It shatters, plastic cracking into minuscule parts, battery slumping against the carpet. The plasma glow from the television continues to wane. Her dad is wide-eyed, staring at the gift presented to him. Clara hesitantly holds the gold watch out to him. After Bump, that's his friend, Bump is what he called him. After Bump takes it, he thumbs the engraving for hours. They go out for dinner later on and laugh about the time he broke his leg teaching her to ride a bike. Their family isn't a plastic TV remote. It's fixable. She's officially abducted the next day. Clara Weathers. When the funeral is finished, the majority have gone home. It doesn't feel real. Here she is, at her dad's funeral. How does that even happen? How the fuck does God take her dad away and the world goes on? But she knows he wouldn't want her cursing the heavens above, and that makes it harder, because how can she pretend the one family she has isn't gone? And what a death it was, Jesus Christ. There's a strange thing walking up to her. Each step a heavy clunking wheeze. He's from the funeral, but his costume is now covered in moss and droplets of water. She frantically blinks away tears. Baffled by this person in front of her, but not too baffled, of course, because Bump knew a wide variety of people, the eccentric soul he was. Clara is about to comment on the amazing work. What an amazing piece. Are you a cosplayer? until he pulls out something. It's covered in algae, but she knows it. His voice continues on. She doesn't hear it.
But why does he have so much algae on him? I'm very confused.
Okay. So, obviously Bump was living in Florida. Right. And guess how Bump died?
Something with an alligator. He was on bath salts and he got eaten by an alligator while wrestling it.
No bath salts, but there was an alligator that had been like really aggressive in the community, so he decided he was going to go and kill it, and it killed him. So that's like the story they give. And Robot Man, Cliff, hears that, and the watch they're referring to is actually a watch that was his, that was Cliff's, but when he died, they gave it to Clara, and then Clara got it engraved, "To Dad, you're my hero," and gave it to Bump.
Oh.
And so for Cliff, he was really pissed, and all he wanted was to get the watch back. So what's really funny, do you remember where I went for my 21st?
Okefenokee, what is it called?
The Okefenokee Swamp.
Okefenokee Swamp.
This episode takes place in the Okefenokee Swamp. So Cliff goes wading out in the middle of the Okefenokee Swamp with Rita. She's on a boat. And he just walks through the water because he's a robot. And he fights his alligator. There's a very dramatic and not believable moment where the alligator jumps out of the water like 10 feet and charges after him. But it freeze frames right before they make contact with each other.
Oh, sweet, dude. Like Rocky?
Yes.
Nice.
It's really nice. And so he comes crawling out of the water, and he killed the gator, apparently, and pulled the watch that Bump was wearing when he got eaten out of the gator's belly.
So it's very much like a Peter Pan, Captain Hook, like he's eaten the whole thing. Yeah.
I did not get that reference, but I think that's what they were going for. The Peter Pan. So yeah, he's covered in moss because he just crawled out of a swamp after saving the watch.
And then he leaves and he goes right to the funeral from the swamp.
No, the funeral already happened. This is him going back to find her afterwards.
I thought people had dispersed from the... Okay.
Yeah, like the funeral had happened, he goes to the swamp, and then he comes back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Shaking fingers.
That's just for everyone who's listening. You're always within walking distance of a swamp, and in particular, the exact swamp you need to go to exact revenge on an alligator. Because everyone in Florida has been wronged by an alligator.
I do have a vendetta against an alligator.
Yeah, a specific one, right?
Yes.
And
I know exactly where it is.
Exactly.
Not since I moved to go to school, but it's in my hometown. I know exactly where it is.
Yeah, but most times it's within walking distance.
Its days are numbered, and I know where its children are. Yeah. You are always within walking distance of an alligator in Florida, though. That part is true. I've seen alligators on our campus before.
No, of course.
Yeah.
None that I have vendettas against.
You guys think I'm blowing smoke, but I have actually seen an alligator use a crosswalk before. And it's not a convenient crosswalk. It's one of those really random in the middle of the road crosswalks.
Yeah, it had to go way out of its way.
It really did. Yeah, and they're smart. I guess that's why we're gators. Shaking fingers wipe away slime and thumbs the engraving. It's written onto her heart at this point, but she does it anyway. The last piece she has of Dad is with her now, home. By the time Clara looks up, the strange thing is gone. The faint but familiar voice at the back of her head rises into a crescendo. The reassuring hum of a parent, a flight of never-ending stars, a car almost split in two, she inhales. A child clings to her father's hand, smiling up at him. The end.
That's the end. Yeah, I like that moment where so he's a brain in a big, robot suit, and the robot suit looks nothing like him. It's literally just like a robot.
Mm-hmm.
But in that moment,
yeah,
he goes out and he gets that for her because he knows it's like the right thing to do. It's closure for her and everything.
Yes.
It's the fixing of the family, as you said.
Yeah.
And I like that, even though she doesn't recognize, he doesn't say anything, there's like a primal instinct. There's something within her that tells her that it's like a parental, thing. It's not like some creepy cosplayer giving her a watch. It's like, no, I just had a brush with something that, the love is so, transcendent that it means more.
Yes.
And you can feel that. It's like the connection between parent and child is never lost, even after, maybe you have another parent figure in your life, or even if that parent you have thought has perished, even in the small kindness of something, you can remember it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think that's quite beautiful.
That. Yeah, it is. So that was the last one. I wanted to do one for, each one I wanted to focus on a different set of characters. The one
except for, well, yeah, you kind of put Rita into two because you're a sexist, so you only pick the dudes.
Well, I like Rita.
Yeah,
she's cool. Rita's not technically in the third one. She is in the episode in that moment, but she's not explicitly stated in the fic. So you're the sexist.
You're just being a chauvinist.
You just don't want her into, so you're a sexist.
It's good. This is how you want to start season 2. That's fine.
Yes, absolutely. But I omitted Crazy Jane and Cyborg, and Flex Mentallo, but we hit on basically everybody and the Chief.
Okay. Those are the core.
It's an ensemble cast, so it's hard unless we want to be here for 3 hours. It's hard to do one on everybody, but I like the 3 honestly. And don't get me wrong, there's plenty of Doom Patrol smut out there, but it was not hard to find these.
Really,
I did not have a challenge. No, I had no challenge finding these whatsoever.
You know what? Maybe the smaller the fan base, the less likely you are to get the the looky-loos who just come in and drop some smut. It's only like real fans.
I sort of agree, honestly. Yeah, I guess with the more like niche stuff or the things that like smaller or like people care about a little bit more than just like a general like idea or pleasure for it or whatever. Maybe it's built more into your identity. Or like at least into the framework of the things that you enjoy. Like for example, my favorite show of all time, maybe I should say the best show I've ever seen, in my opinion, is The Killing. And I don't know really anybody who's ever watched it.
Is that a Netflix show?
Okay, so it was an AMC show for 2 seasons, then a Fox show for 1 season, and then the final season was on Netflix.
Yeah, I've heard you talk about it. I've never.
It's so good. Oh my god, fuck you. Joel Kinnaman's in it, and he's like one of my favorite actors. And
is that the guy who was in that video game Last of Us?
No. His name was Joel in the game. No, Joel Kinnaman was Rick Flag from Suicide Squad, and he's also the main character in Altered Carbon, and he was also the main character in the RoboCop reboot.
Okay.
He was also
for some reason I
Thor.
thought he was like the mocap guy for that as well. Maybe
no. I think that was Nolan North, if that's what the dude's name is.
Okay.
No, what's really funny, Joel Kinnaman is from one Scandinavian country, I think Sweden, and he was up for the role of Thor, but he was filming The Killing, so he like couldn't try out for it, and then they picked an Australian dude, which I thought it was cool that a Swedish dude might have been Thor. I think a Nordic guy would have been the Nordic god of thunder, but.
I do think Chris Hemsworth looks more like Thor than this guy.
Joel Kinnaman looks like a tweaker. He looks like a meth head.
Yeah.
So no, he might have been able to be good, but I like his career path. I like where he is, so I have no complaints. But anyways, about The Killing, because it's like ingrained in me as like one of the better shows. I would be less willing to go out of my way and write smut about it. You know what I mean? Like I would want to obsess about it and write something intelligent or something that's like really like minute in the details. So maybe these things that people, it might not be as popular, that people really latch onto, they like put more care into. You know what I mean? Because no offense, listen, if you like Marvel movies,
how much smut was there when you were looking up Sandman?
Not that much. I mean, you had your bad eggs for sure.
Your requisite, yeah.
Like I said, there was smut for this for sure. But it's not like if I looked for a good Marvel piece right now, like MCU piece, please get
hours.
It literally, like, you guys might think we're joking, listeners, but I swear to God, it would probably take days of actual like scrolling and reading to find something that was of quality. I commend you for finding that Captain America one, the one for NPR.
Oh yeah, no, that was and that was even like bundled with other ones, yeah.
Exactly, because literally a lot of it is Bucky getting fucking hammered in the butt by Captain America or Tony Stark and Captain America. Like a lot of it's just smutty, which if you like smut, that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But when we're not trying to present you a smut every week, it's really difficult to try to find something MCU. And like I was saying, if you like Marvel movies, that's totally good. Everyone enjoys, a decent Marvel movie here and there. But you can't be the highest grossing movie of all time and be some niche little thing that only some people like.
Yeah, can't be an art house film. Yeah.
Exactly. So like, whenever when everybody's seen Endgame, I think you're more likely to have some errant strangers, like you said, who will pop in and drop some smut and then run away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So no, it was not difficult to find these Doom Patrol fics. I actually found a lot of good Doom Patrol fics, and these were the ones I wanted to focus on.
That's quite surprising. That's good.
Yeah. So
Dude,
shout out to the Doom Patrol fandom.
Our podcast revolutionizing the landscape of the internet. We are terraforming. We are internet forming a new world where people don't write smut. They actually put stuff out there that's thoughtful and good.
Hey, I hope so, dude. Like I said, these were really good, and I could probably post 3 or 4 more really good ones that I found.
No, dude, yeah, do it.
Yeah. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope if you haven't watched Doom Patrol, you're at least interested in it. If you don't like to watch and you want to read, I hope you pick up one of the graphic novels, one of the trades. I've only been able to skim some of the original run, but I know it's fantastic. And Ryan's read the Grant Morrison run. You said it's great, right?
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, so I have his 2 trades at my house that I need to read. Sorry, I haven't been able to focus on those with me wanting to gouge my eyes out with school.
Completely unacceptable. Yeah. Completely unacceptable.
Yeah. But the show's amazing. DC Universe is very inexpensive for what you get. There are many comic books on there. There's a lot of shit on there, a lot of content. So if you like that stuff, you definitely should consider subscribing. I think you can get a free trial, and you can watch the first few episodes of Doom Patrol and get hooked. It's really good. And if you like narrative storytelling that is based on character arcs, I'm not saying that these shows are anything alike. I'm just saying their storytelling to me is similar, sort of like Game of Thrones. Maybe not, though, because I think Game of Thrones is more action-based, and this is more like character study-based.
I mean, it's still got an arc. Like, they're still like trying to accomplish, like, beat a bad guy.
Yeah, of course.
Find the chief. And,
there's an overarching arc, but at the same time, like, it's not all focused on plot or action. Like,
yeah, it's even more like sitcom-y in that sense, like situational, like character-driven comic moments and little action scenes, things like that.
And to lend yourself with the Deadpool simile that you gave, these are very funny characters, and they do that superhero humor in a way that I think is good. They do
every episode.
Yeah. But they hit those comedic moments that I think are appropriate. I mean, I think there are some comic book movies out there that just will hit you with a joke, and you're like, there was no fucking reason for that. You know what I mean? Like, sure, it was funny, but it was sort of a cheap laugh, and you kind of took away from the sincerity of the moment because you made a joke. And I don't think there are any moments in Doom Patrol where I was like, oh, fuck, you shouldn't have made that joke there. That was such a good scene. It was so serious until you did that. Like, they place them right where they need to be, and I like it. So yes, that was my Doom Patrol rant. I bet you've been waiting for this, listener, and Ryan and Alex. What are you stoked on, fams?
Oh man, what am I stoked on? So as I teased in the beginning, I am stoked on a book that I just read, and I just finished it, like right before we got on this call. It's one of the books that you lent me, and it's called The Grip of It. It is a novel by, I don't really know how to pronounce the author's name, so I apologize. I believe it is Jacques Jemc, Jacjemc.
All right.
And like I said, I'm trying to read just, because it's October, trying to get the spook on, trying to get in the zone with some scary things. It is a haunted house book in the vein of, so like Haunting of Hill House, like that Netflix series that everyone got like hyped about. Like that was a book before, and also this other book called Turning of the Screw, which is like another like haunted house book that like became a movie. They're both like very much in this same vein. Okay. It's just very atmospheric, very creepy. It's centered around a young married couple, a man and a wife, and a man and his wife, and they're living in the city. And, they're kind of like having just like a young, like married millennial relationship. And they're like, we're going to go out to the country and like get a house and like live that lifestyle. And when they get there, it is, things go bump in the night and it gets pretty scary.
It gets spooky.
It gets spooky real fast.
Yeah.
And I really think the ending, it's very open ended and it's very very ambiguous, and it gets pretty like it gets pretty like cerebral towards the end. But I really do think like the beginning and middle, like I've read it a lot when I was at my apartment like alone at night, and I was like very very sufficiently creeped out. So
Good. And I didn't lend that to you. That's yours, dude.
No, I definitely picked it from the pile of those books.
Yeah, but you said lent. I didn't lend it to you. It's your book, fams.
I guess it is. I took it from you, but yeah, no, this is from that stack of books that you guys just like keep in your apartment.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of all horror films.
Good, dude.
The good, the bad, and the ugly. And
I don't think it's a horror film.
No, I'm just saying like
no,
I'm
I know.
a fan
I'm
of all
talking
horror
with you.
films. So I really hadn't. I had not really delved into scary books. I read some Stephen King, It, and things like that, but just a purely scary book for the sake of it, and I really enjoyed it. Well, very good.
I know I've said this before on the show, but for those of you who either forgot or this is your first time listening, or you listen intermittently, which is also okay. Subscribe on Patreon. When they talk about horror in books, and they say that like it's almost scarier because your imagination is what's conjuring up the monster, or what's conjuring up the fright. Did you feel that when you're reading it? Did you feel like, because when you're watching a movie, it has to be presented typically.
I'm actually gonna contradict. I'll just in terms of my taste.
Okay.
I think a good horror movie leaves a lot up. A good horror movie shouldn't have like a massive budget. Like you should have to do most of the work. Like
Blair Witch.
A door that swings open to reveal like a pitch black hall is much more frightening than like a monster charging through a closet door. Like it's just like once you see it, you're like, oh, okay, it kind of loses that
totally
power
agree.
over you. So I think a good scary movie, like Friday the original, not Friday the 13th, the original Halloween movie is like a 14-minute like student horror film with like 70 minutes of like just like exterior shots of houses to pad its runtime. But that's what it gets done. It's just very creative with angles and things like that. So yeah, reading this, it was just kind of like it would just like some words would just give you goosebumps, and you just kind of get a chill that runs through you. So I'm really like I said, inspired to go out and read some more books like that. And,
well, good, dude. Yeah, if you're looking for a scary movie this Halloween, my favorite scary movie, I might have told you about it already. It used to be on Netflix, but now you'd have to go online and rent it, which I honestly think is worth the $2. It's called Grave Encounters.
Okay.
Imagine like a found footage, so like a Blair Witch or a Paranormal Activity sort of movie. It was right when that genre was big, but it's a team of ghost hunters that go into a mental asylum, and they act like it's all bullshit. When the camera's rolling, but when they're not like rolling for the show, and you see them like taking different takes to like kind of up it a little bit. And there's a psychic who like you can tell is very obviously just like full of shit, and they're like, we're gonna spend 24 hours locked into this asylum, and the sun goes down and then it never comes up.
What?
Literally never comes up. It's it is. I've honestly probably watched that movie 4 or 5 times, and it's one of the most frightening concepts to me, because it's like this old mental asylum. Everyone starts like getting picked off one by one. And like one of the things is that there were like these service tunnels that are underneath, but there's not even like the ambient light of the moon that comes in. And holy fuck, that movie is legitimately frightening at times.
First of all, it's Canadian, so it can't be that scary. But I'm looking at the tagline.
It's a polite scary.
They went searching for the proof. They found it. Dude, this gets me hyped. I'm going to watch this like tonight.
Honestly, I think I've watched that movie at like 4 a.m. before, and it's such a good experience. Like I'm that type of horror like fan. I guess all horror fans are, but like I don't get like spooked. I just like really respect when there's a good scare, or like when there's like a good concept. And I have nothing but the highest level of respect for this movie. The budget on it was like absolute garbage, but wow, it is good. It is.
Bro, I'm the kind that gets scared. Like I'll get scared for like an hour, a couple, maybe a day or two. But
dude,
that's.
You need to watch this movie, because there's literally one point where they're like, yeah, we're 48 hours in, and the fucking sun hasn't come up. And they're like freaking out about it. And like, obviously they start to run out of food. They start to run out of water. The ghosts start fucking with them more or whatever's in there. And it is like, it's good. So
that's amazing.
If you're looking for,
I'm going to watch this.
And it's a Halloween haunt you probably haven't seen unless you were like me and you were in high school when it was on Netflix and like, you know, you're like, hey, like, let's all go over to someone's house and watch a scary movie. And Dick is on Netflix. So you just watch whatever. At least at the time, I think the selection is better now. But at the time I was like, well, this just is like a B movie. Oh, how scary can it be? It was fucking great. So sorry to take over your stoked on, but I'm nothing.
I'm extreme. Now I'm stoked on the possibility of this. That's good. That's two stokes for the price of one.
Bro, watch it, and I want your like live reaction. Just like send me like so many messages on Facebook when you watch it, because I want to know like your live. I remember that movie so vividly because I've watched it so many times, and I fucking burned it into my skull because I love that movie.
Good.
So it's not my stoked on, unfortunately. My stoked on, for all you people out there, I'm going to shock you. Bachelor in Paradise, my dude.
Such a good show.
Okay, I'm glad you agree because
Dude, what's your take on Stagecoach?
Look, I saw he had the receipts. I saw the DMs. She went out of her way to jump into his tent.
Bro, it was pretty savage to put those DMs out there, though. I don't know if I would have done that.
Did you watch the finale where they were talking about it?
Oh, no, I did.
Okay, well,
I think he's in the right, but I also think he shouldn't have put him out there. That's
like he said, the issue would have never been corrected had he not done it. So it is shitty. It was a total douchey thing. I think
he's in worse. I think he's in a worse position now, though.
He should have apologized. He didn't outright apologize, and he should have apologized.
Yeah, I'm a man, ho, and then he like accept the blame and let her get off. That's what a man does.
That's what a man does. But it's great.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No
one has any idea what we're talking about, but yeah.
Maybe some people do. Basically, Bachelor in Paradise, they take all the people from the Bachelor or Bachelorette that were interesting but didn't win, and then they throw them on a beach for like 4 weeks, 6 weeks. And you literally get like 8 movies worth of content. You don't realize that it's going as long as it is. Like, you'll literally be like an hour and a half deep. And you're like, am I still watching this? I just started. But then, you know you're an hour and a half deep. It's so good. Oh my God. My roommate was watching it. I was making fun of her. And I was standing there to like make fun of it. And then like 30 minutes later, I was sitting on the couch. And I'm like, oh my God, fuck that guy. What a dick. Like, so sucked.
You're like standing, then you're like leaning on the couch, then you're sitting on the arm, then you're like fully sprawled out, like, hey, pass those chips over here.
Yeah, and like she'll try to make a comment to me, like, shut up, I'm trying to see what they're saying. Oh my God, you're so disrespectful. So yeah, it's just good. It's entertainment. It's pure trashy American TV, and sometimes you need that. We are going really long on time, but hopefully you guys enjoy that because we're back. And it feels good. It's good to be back. My ass is really sore because I've been sitting on my toilet this whole time. Not pants down. Like I said, I'm in my bathroom. But I don't have a chair in my toilet. So ass is getting a little sore. So yeah, I'm feeling it too, guys. You see this mountain marathon of a podcast episode, but we feel it too. We're out here with sore asses for you guys. Just so you know.
Yeah, my ass is sore for unrelated reasons.
Long night at the bar, buddy?
Yeah.
Dollar bill pinned to your shirt?
Bum's rush. Yeah, flying down to Washington Street multiple times.
Dollar bill pinned to your shirt when you woke up this morning?
What are these ones stuffed in my waistband? What the heck, man?
Fuck? God damn.
Crazy night, bro.
Again?
Crazy night.
But no, thank you again.
Who wants to waddle uncomfortably down to the gas station and get some orange juice to liven up this whiskey?
Thank you again to everybody who did the guest show, episodes for us. We do really appreciate it. Thank you for not letting our Twitter die while we were gone. We actually gained followers like in the break. So
maybe we should just stop doing the podcast then. We'll keep getting followers.
Yeah, just stay on Twitter. No, but thank you guys for not letting us kind of fade into obscurity and die out. Some shows get really scared of that, but you guys didn't let that happen. So we really appreciate it. That was really cool. We have a Patreon, Suck My Fanfic. We would appreciate it if you gave some money. You can give more than $1, and we'll read fics for you straight into your ear holes. And we have a YouTube. You can subscribe to that. Smash subscribe and like. And what else do we got? We got a Facebook, got the Twitters, the Tumblr, which, Ryan's the most active on.
Dude, I'm gonna go ahead and put it out there now. Our Tumblr is erupting. Like, if you're listening, do not go check out our Tumblr.
No.
I do not understand. I don't think the website can handle that many visitors.
No, not our blog. Not our portion.
For the sake of the internet, because I think if Tumblr goes down, the domino effect, the entire internet will crash.
Yep.
Do not go to our Tumblr. There's
too
much traffic. It is too popular.
Totally agreed. But thank you for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this. This is season 2. I'm optimistic. It was great to be back, Ryan. It's nice to catch up with you, especially since I don't live in New York anymore and I don't get to see you once a week like I used to. But this is great. I had a good time. I hope you enjoyed the fix. I hope you're reinvigorated to go watch Doom Patrol. And it's glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear you're reading a bunch and you're enjoying this poopy books.
I'm trying to get into it.
Yeah.
Doing great things. Doing great things down there in school. Being a smarty pants.
I'm also. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Also, I'm stoked on South Park. The new season's great. Fuck you. I mentioned them. Also, fuck you. I have to start Dune Messiah soon. I mentioned that too. Fuck you. Sick. I'm gonna wake up in like 5 hours so I can go to class.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to work.
Dude, are we being productive members of society?
Not right now, we're not. We're making a podcast.
Oh, no, I was going to say, by doing this, we are. Our other shit's unproductive.
Right.
Yeah. What should we remember, fam?
Man, I am quite excited to be back. Yeah, it's good to be talking with you. It's good to be talking to the fans. And, whether you're a failed fighter pilot, failed actress, or a sentient street, we love you. And we're glad that you're listening, and we hope you have a wonderful day.